But I think it's important that other states are taken care of as well.
Senator, we talk about the Vox Populi.
The what?
The Vox Populi, the voice of the people.
Yes.
But when you look at the polls, they've been fairly universal over the last few weeks where public opposition has run against this bill. What do you say to the people?
Which bill?
Well,
the bill that is being talked about with the manager's package, or the bill that existed before? That's one of the challenges that is there. This bill has been moving along every step of the way and changing. Now what we need to see is how people respond to the bill with the manager's package and the modifications. There's an opposition. Well, there's opposition to public plans. I happen to know because that's what I heard in my town hall meetings. That's what I see, the concern about a public plan. There are some people opposed to doing anything, absolutely opposed to doing anything. You're not going to change their mind by doing something. So that is something that has to be dealt with. The abortion issue has been a concern to make certain that the federal dollars are not used for abortion. The plan that we've put together here, we have agreement on, in fact, walls off that money in a very effective manner and make certain that the plans do not will use federal dollars to fund abortion. So I think as people begin to take a look at what a package is now, they may have some different opinions about it. I don't think the well is so poisoned. I think it has been, efforts have been to poison it, but I don't think it's been so poisoned that people, in most circumstances, will take a close look at what the plan is today. At least from my perspective, I think that's what will happen.
Senator, there are a number of changes to the abortion provisions as far as everything. Can you talk about which of those was the most important in assuring you that there is the segregation is done?
Well, the fact that the requirement is that first of all, there are 12 states that ban abortion in public plans and 5 that ban in both public and private plans. We wanted to make sure in this legislation that it was clear that there was no preemption of the right of states to continue to make those bans if they choose to do so. And so that is spelled out that there's nothing that would restrict the right of states to do that. We were concerned that some court would say because it wasn't addressed that, well, there must have been the intent to repeal. The second thing is that each exchange will have to have in it at least one plan that doesn't offer abortion. That doesn't require the exchanges to offer plans with abortion. But if they do, then the premium is calculated as follows. Let me give an example. Let's say that my subsidy is 50% of the premium. That's the underlying premium for the basic benefits in the plan, not including abortion. So I would write a check for the other 50%, the second 50% of that coverage, and I would write a separate check or a separate transaction, if it's a credit card, for the portion of abortion coverage and the premium for that.
So you have to specifically choose to have abortion coverage and pay
yes. You get your choice between a plan that doesn't have it and a plan that has it. It's not about riders. It's not about anything like that. It's a plan that happens to be inclusive of abortion.
Is it your understanding that states, though, could ban private insurers
yes.
on the exchanges from offering abortion, even if some of their customers don't get federal subsidies?
They can do it right now. It doesn't change. What we want to make sure is that the current law, the current situation is the same.
On the question of cutting a separate check, can the purchasers send a single check and the insurance companies keep the check, or does that make sense, or do people who buy an insurance company with their policies
they
actually do 2 separate transactions?
Yes, they have to do 2 separate transactions. It walls it. It makes it clear. No question about it. Now, the insurers will account for it accounting-wise and in risk pools, separating out the coverages as well. Typically, that's the way it's done.
Senator, can any state decide not to include a plan that's free of abortion coverage?
No. If they have an exchange,
yes.
they have to provide for at least one plan that doesn't provide abortion. That way, you avoid the opt-out.
What does Congressman Stupak think what does Congressman Stupak think about what you're describing?
Well, we've talked, but I haven't had a chance to talk to him this morning yet. But this is very, very similar. We think it's clearly like the Stupak language, but we think it's different. There are other provisions to it as well that I think are important. First of all, the conscience clause will be included. There will be up to $250 million over 10 years for essentially teen pregnancies and people who want to continue their pregnancy, go to school, support them to move away from putting people in a position where they believe they've got to have an abortion to be able to continue their lives. This economically, this would help with that. In addition, the adoption credit has been increased, and in addition to that, it's been made as a refundable tax credit, so that lower income people, adoption is getting more and more expensive. It's not like when I adopted; it's much more expensive, and this will mean that lower income people would have the opportunity for adoption as well. So we think that when you look at this package together, that this is the package that we ought to have dealing with this.
Senator, there were, over the last weeks and months, there were a lot of things in this bill that you lobbied and insisted come out. Mostly things that had to come away from the bill for you to support it. Now that you've gotten an agreement, do you feel like this is a good bill or a less bad bill? Do you feel that this bill fulfills the imperatives the leadership wants, more insurance? I mean, do you think this is a good bill that if it popped up, you would have supported it?
I think it's good enough for us to move forward. If I had my druthers, I'd said earlier that I would have done it incrementally. I would have dealt with the cost containment first and extending coverage second. That wasn't the choice that was accepted. You have to take the process that's in front of you and try to improve it, and that's what I've attempted to do, both constructively and productively improved this legislation to the point where I can support it, with the caveat that I said we have to see what happens with a very limited conference, because we don't want any wholesale, substantive, or material changes, because my support is conditional.
So to that provision, how was Majority Leader Reid able to give you assurances that the conference would be limited between the House and the Senate, and wasn't there interaction across the dome with the?
Well, I don't know. Let's put it this way. I told the leader about my concerns and made it clear where I am, and he understood it. And I'm sure that he's, in doing his job, will find a way to make that happen.
Senator, some of the things that you wanted in the bill, could that possibly lose some of the more liberal senators from the actual bill itself?
Well, not that I'm aware of. It's my understanding that no one has walked away from the bill, a cloture at this time. I don't know about final vote tally or anything like that, but I'm not aware of anybody walking away from the next cloture vote.
Senator, can you talk about some of the conversations that you had, I guess, I assume late last night or early this morning, with abortion rights groups back in Nebraska and nationally, and how they helped you lead this?
Well, what I've done is I've outlined to them what this bill is, and I'm not seeking approval, just informing them what it is and how we've gone about doing it, and why I think it's not only the best way we can handle it, I think it's more than good enough. I think this actually does what everybody who wants to wall off the money is after. Well, they're looking at it. So, I mean, people are still looking at it, trying to go over it, I'm sure. But there's a point in time where I think you have to move forward. If there's some modification or something like that, you always keep your mind open. But I believe in my heart of hearts that this handles the whole question of funding abortion, of banning the funding of abortion by federal money, either directly or indirectly.
Senator, there was a really loud round of applause right at the beginning of the caucus.
There
was a particularly loud round of applause and a lot of cheering at the beginning of the caucus meeting. You could hear it. What immediately preceded that? Did you give a speech, or what was said? Can you talk about that a little bit?
I think it might have been when I walked out the door. No, I don't know what. Well, I think it was for the leader when he came in. I can't emphasize enough how whether you like this legislation, whether you've been supported or not, I think everybody has to understand that Senator Reid has really tried to work with all groups. It's not an easy job to do. Not always the easiest job to work with me. I know I have my own views. I hold tight, but I can always look for ways to create more implementation or find some modifications if it doesn't involve bending or ignoring principle.
Can you just, Senator